Catholic dating thing. I think I've tried to start something with somewhere between 500 to 1,000 different ladies, 500 to 1,000 different, 500 to 1,000, 500 to 1,000, 500 to 1,000, 500 to 1,000. But the greatest of these is love. And we were kicked out of the church there. You're told you're not allowed to be in the church. You can be in the hall 50 feet away, but you can't be in the church because obedience. I can't get a girlfriend because the Jews won't allow me to. I'm saying this as a Catholic. I'm not saying I'm leaving the church. I'm not saying yada yada. I'm saying this as a Catholic, that the Catholic Church is broken. I had an ex-girlfriend of mine break up with me and cheat on me with a guy who was 40 plus years old. I was super depressed and angry at the world. The Vatican got rid of Catholicism as the official religion. The Vatican got rid of Catholicism as the official religion. This is a really hard video to make. The church is telling guys, ask girls out, ask girls out, ask girls out. They're telling young women, and these ladies are telling each other, oh, he should ask you out. But yet, if he asks you out, also it's too much. But have not love. I'm a noisy gong or clanging cymbal. And hope you guys will be able to find your special someone out there. Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful.
But you know who is boastful? That's right. You know him. You love him. It's Chad. And we have a show for you. A show that you've never seen before. Because who would make a show like this? But we have. We are here to celebrate Nicholas Kabongo, the greatest stratapologist has ever not had a real argument with anyone he disagrees with. Yes. And so we must look at my Twitter, if I would ever present it. Present the Twitter. Oh, dear viewers, I've decided to take down my video called I've Been Hurt by the Catholic Church. And while I mean every word that I've stated in that video, I've gotten so many varying responses that I was to weigh them in the scales of prudence. I'm got a big scale out, and I'm measuring comments now. I fear, let's go down a little further. Where's the epic pen? Where's the epic pen? Epic pen, epic pen. We have a line somewhere, and it says right here, well, insults are insults, bam, bam, bam. I take and you take them for what they are, bam, bam, bam. I don't want people to be scandalized. Oh. But I'm being told unpleasant things, Nick says, in the line right here. I have been told that I am a scandal farmer, and a whole lot of unpleasant things, such as a baby boy. By the way, look, what's this? Is it the whole 24-minute video that Nick took down? That's right. At the Sela Picante Cast, we steal Nick's content and use it for our own. That's right. Now, we're not going to view that. We've got the fish. That's right. The fish. Huh. Hi, candlesticks. Hi, Mary. No, supremacists. People, human beings. Hello. The fish on the 28th of 18th, just yesterday, the state of traditionalism under Pope Leo. Unbelievable. Let's listen to what the fish has to say.
Then, of course, we have Pope Francis. In 2013, he becomes the Pope. And, I mean, I don't know how else you can say it, but there is an all-out war now between traditionalists and the Pope, between traditional Catholics and the Vatican.
What? No way! Someone has destroyed Abato forever! We're watching a different show over here, Cardinal Thuk! How did you by any chance destroy him? There's a war going on. The church and tradition are fighting. And it's a war to the death. Who will die and who will live? Who would even know these things? But it's an all-out war? I thought that the Pope was the source of peace, the source of unity. It's almost like this whole religion's just a roller coaster.
Because it's, like I said, it's been a roller coaster for traditional Catholics in their relationship with the Vatican over the past 50 years. This is not good. This is not the way it should be. Popes should not have, new popes should not radically have different agendas than the previous pope. The whole point of a papacy, of the pope, is to basically receive what's been handed on to you and then transmit it to the next generation.
So if the Pope is supposed to do this thing where he transmits it to you, why isn't it being transmitted? Did Salmons just admit the Pope is nothing like a real Pope? Unbelievable. And in this clip, it's not fair to blame traditionalists for the poor relations with the Vatican.
Catholics who blame traditionalists for our poor relationship with the Vatican, honestly, I think that's very unfair, because traditionalists don't even know what they're getting with the next pope. They're like, okay, are we allowed to do this? Or are we allowed to do that? Or can we believe this and practice this? Or is it going to be condemned by the Vatican? We don't even know what to expect. And this is exactly what happened when Pope Leo was elected.
That's right. Even when Pope Leo was like, we didn't even know anything. Like, literally, no one, not even in the anti-traditionalist movement, knew anything that was ever going. Oh, wait, we knew exactly what was going on with Pope Leo because he told us all everything on social media. Oh. But maybe, like, we didn't know everything.
Last May, everybody was speculating, what's it mean? All traditionalists were speculating, what's it mean for the traditional Latin Mass, for traditionalism in general? Because we just didn't know. Now, of course, the speculation has some info, it's not just total guesswork, I guess what I'm trying to say. We know, we knew stuff about the history of Robert Prevost, and so we could make some guesses, but the point is, it shouldn't even be a case.
The point is, it shouldn't even be a case. And we wondering, Salmons, it's not a case. He's done literally everything Chris Jackson said he would do. It's almost like the traditionalists, the actual traditionalists, have a magic crystal ball that says, well, this man's a modernist and he's going to keep doing modernist things. Unbelievable. And then, gasp, he does modernist thing. No. So moving on, Salmons isn't a trad anyway. I don't even know why he's talking about traditional.
I don't claim to be a number one traditionalist, like a leader, a traditional movement. In fact, a lot of traditionalists kind of consider me not fully traditionalist. Like I'm more of a semi-trad, whatever.
Oh, he's a semi-trad. I'm like a semi-trad myself. And we weren't cooking fish on Thursdays, Anthony Apato, a rad trad. We had leftovers from the holy day of Thou Shalt Not Eat Food Wednesday. Yes, but the crisis is Trad Inc. 1 Peter 5 is also Trad Inc.
So overall, I'd say crisis, we've had a wait and see approach, give him the benefit of the doubt, have a generally positive outlook about him, and not bring every single thing up that he does that we don't agree with. So how about other prominent traditionalists? So let me just look at our sister publication, 1 Peter 5, Tim Flanders. Note, of course, we are sister publications. So I'm talking about kind of in-house here still. But over there, Tim Flanders, I think he's even been less critical than I have been about Pope Leo. He's been mostly focused on, at 1 Peter 5, building up traditional Catholic culture and helping people live traditional Catholic lives, and less about, okay, what did Pope Leo do this week or that week?
Can you really? I need to take a pause for a second here. Hey guys, I'm building up traditional Catholic life and culture, but we don't follow anything the Pope says. We disregard everything the priest says, and we just do what random people on the internet tell us to do. Is that the traditional Catholic life? Like, hey, I've read about the traditional Catholic life on 1 Peter 5. Nah, I'm so traditional Catholic now. Yay! Oh, it says don't practice this outside your home because your pastor won't like it, the bishop won't like it, and the Pope will excommunicate you. I wonder what that means. It's almost like it's a big game, isn't it? We have to keep waiting forever to give Leo the benefit of the doubt. We call this the crisis of the doubt. That's right. On Sadie Picante Show, we come up with a new crisis every single show. Otherwise, why do a show? Excuse me? Well, what about PPP? Are they also Trad Inc? And let's say some fish for Friday at least. Or there's cheese pizza. You can't have cheese pizza. It's not enough protein per calorie. Unbelievable. Someone get this woman some fish on that cheese pizza. So what about the PPP loans? Yes.
How about Pelican Plus, which Tim Flanders is also associated with, but we have Peter Kwasniewski, we have Kennedy Hall, and some others over at Pelican Plus. Well, I feel like that's been similar to Crisis in 1 Peter 5, in that it's been critical of Leo at times, but generally it's talking about other things. It too is talking about how to build up traditional Catholic life, how to live as a Catholic.
Yeah, that's right. Pious Pelican Plus not being critical, just like 1 Peter 5 not being critical, just like Crisis not being in a crisis. Trading was competing to smear Pope Francis, the patron saint of our deceased pets, but all of a sudden, oh, this Leo guy, patron saint of our ice cream cones, we can't attack him. What is going on here?
I mean, you know what I'm talking about. In the Francis days, 1 Peter 5, for example, under Steve Skocek, Crisis Magazine under me, Kennedy Hall's podcast, Taylor Marshall, who I'll talk to about in a second, his podcast. There was a real theme, LifeSite News. There was a real theme of let's just see how bad, let's compete to see who can say how bad Pope Francis is.
That's right. There was the whole thing was like, oh, man, I'm going to be more mean to Pope Francis than you. Truth? Who cares about truth, man? I'm mean. I'm so mean. Do you get it, guys? Like, there was this thing called truth and objectivity, and we're like, bro, we're mean today. We're never Francisers. Yes, that was their religion. Never Francis. Anything Francis does is evil. What was that sound I just heard? Did you hear a sound? I think I heard. The Wolf Pack! That's right! We are back! The Wolf Pack to completely destroy the likes of eating fish any single day of Lent. Because you shouldn't be eating at all. You should be starving and dying. Like Eric Salmon. Starving and dying. Not making any money. Completely broke. And now back to the show. Part 2. Salmons likes his friends, all of whom are saints, and admits that he was harsh with a known heretic. Maybe too harsh. That's right. Only in the world of Eric Salmons can you be too harsh on a heretic.
I mean, that's kind of what had occurred. And again, I'm not blaming my friends, and they're all my friends, these people I've mentioned so far. I have great respect for all of them. Or myself even. I'm a little harder on myself, to be honest.
But I'm not blaming everyone. I just want you to know I'm not blaming anyone. Like, I'm hard on myself, but I'm not blaming.
I was a little too harsh at times about Pope Francis and said some things I didn't need to say. I'm not saying that about other people, though.
Yeah, that's right. Pope Francis was only a heretic, but maybe I was a little harsh on this. Maybe if we were nicer to Martin Luther, he wouldn't have committed so much heresy. It would have toned it down a little bit. Can we just get a little less heresy? Yes, that's right. We are so back. We are just so back. Back to what? We don't know. In this clip, Pope Salmon serves with 100% infallible or isn't 100% infallible in faith. The Pope Salmon serves isn't infallible. It's 100% liability to the faithful to know the Pope. What religion is this? Is this the religion of Trad Inc., do-it-yourself Catholicism, where there's no bishops or priests, just online content creators? Play the clip.
But the point is that was kind of what we all ended up with. And I think we all felt it was necessary because we have a pope who's doing such a terrible job.
We found it was all necessary. We have such a pope who's doing such a terrible job, but we're not judging him. The pope can't even find the way out of his room. He's a terrible pope. But he's still the pope. Oh yeah, okay.
Under Pope Francis, that we felt like we need to help Catholics to understand that, to live under that, navigate that crisis.
We felt we had to tell Catholics, ignore the Pope and follow us. So then, why follow a Pope who's a liability for your religion? Hey, don't follow Chris Jackson. If you read Chris Jackson, you might go to hell. Then why would I have him in the comments? I should ban him. Yes, we should ban Chris Jackson. Wait, Chris Jackson's the person I DM most within the world right now. Oh, spoilers! That'll make him stop DMing me. Anyways, remember to name drop bigger people all the time. Taylor Marshall. Have I mentioned Taylor Marshall every time I say, oh, the views are going up as I speak? Taylor Marshall. I mean, the Taylor Marshall. Yeah, the Taylor Marshall. Unbelievable. Have I talked about Taylor Marshall enough yet lately? Anyway, Taylor Marshall.
But how about Taylor Marshall? But I have noticed that Taylor's not got the same kind of it's not the same.
There's a Selah alert somewhere.
I don't say the same attitude, but it's just a different feel, different tone than it was under Francis, where he's not maybe as quick to be as critical of Leo, and also he's giving him more of the benefit of the doubt. Probably for the same reasons I'm doing this.
Probably for the same reasons I'm doing it, more benefit to the doubt. We just can't criticize people. We just got, you really just got to just benefit of the doubt. Really nice. In other words, these people are anti-Trumpers, but anti-Francisers. They have the same delusion. There is no objective reality. Ah, yes, because y'all are gutless cowards. Michael Matt is also Trad Inc. Because we can't have a discussion of Trad Inc. without naming literally every person in it. Unbelievable.
And then we have Michael Matt as well. I wanted to mention him over at The Remnant. Great guy. I think he's done the same thing, I feel like. He's not constantly criticizing Leo. He's focused on other things.
Michael Matt, I'm just not criticizing Leo, guys. Oh, yeah. There isn't a Trad Inc. By the way, Cardinal Blaze Supich, defender of the fish. Fishman has to stream since Bitcoin crashed. Why is he letting it crash? Salmons, buy more Bitcoin to save my wallet. I wonder where my Bitcoin is at. Oh, no. We got it. Oh. We need another commercial break. Unbelievable. That's right. We need one. We have to check how much Bitcoin I have and what it is worth, because someone has mentioned it and now I've lost my composure and my mind. No, it continues to fall. It's worth less and less. I'm down $13,000 in the last month. Odds Bockens, I'm down $10,000 in the last 3 months. And a year today, I'm down $17,000. No. By the way, the price hasn't changed on like a week. Oh, and now back to the show. Here, Salmons admits that Trad Inc. is anyone but Francis, but kind of like Never Trumpers, like I've said now 4 times, because I wrote the notes and then I accidentally just kind of like spoil them. Yes, who is Trad Inc.? Names every member of Trad Inc. Oh, yes, but It's not a Trad Inc. because I don't tell them to do anything, as if we don't have a term for that.
So I feel like
There's a Cox. Ooh, that would be good. Use that. Use the Wolfpack song for the Cox News Alert too. I was going to write a Cox News Alert this week, but then I ran out of time and I was editing this. Okay.
not only do we have a new pope, and so therefore we should have a different attitude, but we're also like, we're getting tired of this. So I think that's also part of the equation.
Part of the equation is we're getting tired of this. Hey, do we got some truth over here? Well, I'm tired of it. Okay, well, let's just change the truth then. Boy, I'm excited again. As if you could get tired of being a Catholic.
Therefore, we should have a different attitude, but we're also like, we're getting tired of this. So I think that's also part of the equation we're talking about there.
But your Acorns account is growing unbelievable. Christine, the ultimate acorn entrepreneur, is growing acorns. 500 points. Chris Jackson is mentioned.
One person I just want to bring up is like Chris Jackson. Chris Jackson. Chris Jackson, he and I had a friendly relationship for a number of years.
And I'd just like to say, by the way, I've had a friendly relationship with everyone. I talk to everyone. I have the phone numbers of everyone. I've communicated. I'm not on like good terms communicating, but like I have. And I just want you to know, like I talk to Chris Jackson. Eric Salmon, stop bragging every single time you bring up a human being. Oh. At this rate, we're going to be like, and there goes Consuela the maid. And I've talked to Consuela the maid. I got Consuela the maid this job. It's like, do you say that to everyone? Here's the door. I installed the door. I talked to the door. I even painted the door when I was putting it in. But did the door talk back to me? No. The door is accusing me of being tradding. I hate this door. Like, what? What are you doing here, Eric Salmons? You've got to focus.
Is definitely taking a different tack. Let's just say that. He's been extremely critical of Leo.
What? He blocked Chris? No. Unbelievable. But Chris has been extremely critical of Leo.
Constantly publishing things that are saying how terrible he is. He's Francis 2.0. Maybe he's worse than him. I mean, he really is obsessed with just reporting every single thing he thinks is wrong with Leo.
Wait, did Salmons get paid by Chris Jackson for that? I think we've got to ask him. Did you pay Eric Salmons for that fantastic advertisement? Hey, I'd just like to point out everything that's wrong with the guy that's doing the same exact thing as the last guy that we all agreed was doing the wrong thing. And Sam's like, no, why? Why are you doing this? More shameless advertising by Trad Inc. I mean, by Semi-Sede Inc. over Trad Inc. I don't even know.
And the truth is, he lambasts everybody else I've just mentioned. He calls them all, he lumps us all as Trad Inc. It's the term he uses basically to say we're all sellouts.
Unbelievable. Chris Jackson calls everyone else a sellout. But unless there's Bitcoin being exchanged, there's no one selling. Right? Is that the logic? So in this clip, Salmon says, just trust me, bro. I'm not Trad Inc. Yes, this is how adults act. Hey, just trust me. I don't know. I don't know who Salmons is. He's blocked me too. Excuse me. Well,
I just laugh. It's hard to take the accusation seriously because I know what's going on behind the scenes, which is nothing.
Oh, unbelievable. There's a nothing going on behind the scenes. Oh, we've gotten a super chat as well. That's right. If you want to support this show, you can give me all of your money. But in these clips, Salmon uses the literal conspiracy defense against him being Trad Inc. The best part about Salmons is he seems so clueless to actually understand his critics might be watching him.
Okay, so Tim Flanders I work with Tim Flanders.
I
have never told him, and maybe that influenced him. And it's not like I direct him. I talk to him maybe once a month. So you're telling me there's a conspiracy? Like I talk to Taylor, sometimes text with him. I never talk to Michael Madsen. Kennedy, you're going to say that. And Peter, you say this. And Eric, you say it. It's like, no, that's not how it works.
Wait, did I just get rid of
That's how it works.
Apparently, Salmons has never heard of the term group think. Yes! If everyone thinks the same way, you don't have to tell them. It's called the cathedral. Thank you, Mencha Smallbug. And all liberals have the cathedral in their brain so that they don't even have to talk. Have you ever noticed every single Democrat who's like, I love killing babies? They all have the same exact personality. Maybe you didn't need to tell each other, hey, if you're gonna kill babies, you gotta act like this. You're like, wow, I'm gonna act like no. Human beings are herd animals. All of them that look a certain way, act a certain way, are going to think a certain way. All Trad Inc. is a bunch of people who all agree on the same thing. Just like State of a contest all agree on this guy's not the Pope. We don't know what he is, but he's not the Pope. Oh, you're all a conspiracy. You all agree with the same thing. Baseball's a conspiracy. You like the Dodgers, and all of you like the Dodgers. Oh, it's a conspiracy. That's Salmon's argument, because he's never heard of the word group think. He's even read a book before. Where's Stephen Cox? Is he here? I don't see him anywhere. We're trying to scare Stephen Cox away. Don't tell him we're streaming.
It's true. We all sound pretty similar in our tone and our attitude towards Pope Leo. But obviously, Chris Jackson disagrees. Another organization that I think has kind of kept the same way of doing things as under Pope Francis is LifeSite News.
I don't really get this, but and Salmons really enjoys telling us who he talks to.
I don't talk to him ever. Again, I don't have that kind of relationship with him. I've met him and talked to him in the past.
Yeah, I've talked to people. Yeah, John Henry Weston, who is literally insane, is being literally insane. Wow! John Henry Weston's like, have you found any spook? Any spook out there who's got a prophecy saying the world's going to end? And then they find one, and John Henry Weston's like, wow, that's really deep. Like, do you mind telling us more about how the world's going to end? And it's just like, who's the show for? It's crazy. It's so crazy. I won't even touch it. No, he doesn't do it all the time, but he does it sometimes. Now, Salmon sees another Trad Inc. member in the chat. Remember, it's not a cult. Just trust me, it's not a cult. These people don't know each other. They don't talk to each other. They don't have to. I mean, it's not what you think it is. Just trust me.
I just saw Anthony on the chat. Anthony, jump in the chat and tell me what you're doing, because as you know, I don't actually listen to your podcast. So put up there though what you're doing, like how much you've been talking about Leo. I wish there was a way I could get you on here real quick, but I don't. I got to figure out how to do that sometime in the future to just get you to jump on, Anthony.
Yeah, Anthony, I don't listen to your show at all. By the way, this part of the show is sponsored by Chris Jackson, who told me to do this. And I was like, oh, another person telling Sede Picante. I mean, Chad, the anti-trad T-Rex, what he's supposed to be doing. And then I listened to it and I was like, haha, that's funny. Eric Simons is adult. It's like the Epstein Club, but you're not invited. Please listen to things that Salmons has never listened to. Please listen to Avoiding Babylon, because they think like I think, therefore their show's good. Remember, it's not a cult. Remember, we didn't tell each other what to do, so we're not a cult, and we don't think the same thing, except we all think exactly the same thing.
Okay, let me pop up what Anthony put here. We've actually taken the approach to not discuss anything in Rome at all. There's nothing we can do about it. So I've just been living my Catholic faith out.
Hey, did you know you can live your Catholic faith out without reference to the Pope? Unbelievable. I can't change the Pope, so I guess he's the Pope. Wow. So I guess when the Pope makes a bishop who did lewd things with young people, lewd things with young people with his hands, when he gets made a saint, well, I can't do anything about it. I just guess he's a saint now. Ah! Is this a man? Is Abate actually a man? Oh, well, I can't do anything about the 99% tax the state is playing. I guess I'll just pay it. Oh, yeah, I'll just pay it. Can't do anything about it. Is this like literally? Oh, Liberty Bee Queen says Unk Ant in the comments. Yes. But I've always wondered this, because you're like, I can't stop sinning. They're defeating me. I can't do anything about it. Did you just like, oh yeah, I just live my life normally? Aren't you supposed to fight? I just don't understand this idea. Oh yes, the producer of Avoiding Babylon show, who does exactly no production at all. I had to make clips. The first song that you heard in the stream, I wrote that. Unbelievable.
God bless you, Anthony. Okay, I might actually start listening to Avoiding Babylon now. I might not. But
I might start listening to your show because you came on my show and I'm friends with you. I podcast because I'm lonely. I need friends. I went on. Oh, there's another thing, by the way. A little inside baseball. Half of the people who podcast only podcast because they're lonely. And I think that's time for a commercial. Are you lonely? Do you have no friends in your life? Do you want to get people that you watch onto your show? Then just download StreamYard or OBS and for free start a show. You would be surprised what guest you can get with having no viewers whatsoever. What? You mean I can just start a show and become famous? Yes! And we have a super chat. Let's put the super chat up from our friend Anthony Apato Ratrat. I wonder how that looks on the screen. A shout out to Eek, it's too big. Change the size. A shout out to all my wonderfully uncharitable and miserable Sadies. We are so filled with misery being a Sadie. It's like because I don't have a pope that I already wasn't following, my life is just over. Unbelievable. That's how it works. Yes, that's right. That is how it works. And let's go back to the show.
So Anthony also, Avoiding Babylon, and I recommend the podcast. I kid somewhat with him, but the point is like he's just, Anthony's like, and I think that's part of what all of us are doing. It's not that.
So what you do is you get your phone and you take a picture of it, or you go to supertip.gg/CDP, and you'll have to create an account to link it to. It probably links to your Google, and then it'll get you to a text tips. I don't have audio tips because I'm too lazy to do it, but eventually I'll set up audio tips, and it'll have a few different people's voices that you can tip in. But I found the audio voice tipping not to be as funny like other podcasts have it, so then like I don't have it enabled. Excuse me. But yeah, just wait. No, we're doing the bit again, aren't you? Wait, what? What has he? I don't know why he would. Cox is like the most middle of the road person ever. Anyway, all of us are doing. Remember, Trad Inc. is fake, though, right? Remember, all of us are doing the thing. All of us are not criticizing Leo, so you can't group us all as the guys who aren't criticizing Leo, even though we all admit we're the guys not criticizing Leo. Make it make sense. Yeah, I know. If only Robert Nugent would join us, and then we could have a good conversation.
Okay, Anthony, I am treading. Anthony, you are treading. I mean, okay, it's time to come clean. Anthony's the head of trading. He founded it. We take our orders from him, And basically everything we do, it comes back to him. But to be honest, Anthony, I'm still waiting for my first payment. You keep saying it's coming. I haven't seen it yet.
Did you get that? It was a joke. Did you know that when I work in my private life, no one tells me what to do. I just do it because I know what I'm supposed to do. Wow, it's almost like you don't have to be told what to do because you're not a child. But Eric Sammons thinks that conspiracies are run by children who have to tell you exactly what to do. Because Eric Sammons has probably never had a real job, apparently. Like, oh, I've got someone to take out the trash. We call him the trash taker at man. I wonder what he's supposed to be doing right now. Oh, let me think about that for a second. And then you over to the guy, you're like, what are you doing with your life? And he's like, I'm reading a newspaper. Like, wow. You're like, no, you're the trash man. You do the trash. That's what you do. You're the podcaster. You podcast. It's like, I'm going to crash out on these people. This is horrible. All right. So now we have a show. We have the second half of the show. We will end this stream on remove. There we go. Now we are only on YouTube. The Catholic Unscripted, April 16th, 2025. Does St. Robert Bellarmine support the sedevacantist cause? Now, this is clipped really poorly, and it's going to be like 18 minutes of clip. So if you want to leave and save this part of the show for tomorrow, right now is a great time. Pick up the show tomorrow. Let's go. No, I'm still on the first energy drink. By the way, this is mean. Wait, why do I still have the super tip on? I'm supposed to. There we go. This is very mean of me, but I think it's very true. I love this. He's a chipmunk. I like that. Now on to the main topic, the 5 opinions of St. Robert Bellarmine, as told to us by someone who can't figure out what they mean.
So we're going to talk about the 5 opinions that Bellarmine covers in the Romano Pontifice.
Not the Romano.
Which are basically revolve around the fact that the basic argument is that if a pope says something heretical, he's no longer the pope. Would that be correct?
If the Pope says something heretical, he's not a Pope. Welcome to Retards Doing Theology. If the Pope says something, is saying something a judicial act for this guy? Like, yeah, if the Pope says Martin Luther is a good person, is he just not the Pope anymore? Yeah, he's a retard. Retards are not the Pope. It's pretty simple. But like, he just says it. Now, if he just like happens to momentarily think something really stupid, is he not the Pope? It's like, do you have any theological language, any verbiage for theology? I'm gonna die.
So this is in Book 2, Chapter 30 of De Romano Pontifice, where Bellarmine is basically answering the question whether a heretical pope can be deposed. That's the subject of the chapter. Basically, we're addressing and refuting 2 main claims that are made these days. Number one, that the claim that Bellarmine teaches that a manifestly heretical pope would automatically lose office.
We're refuting that a manifestly heretical pope would automatically lose office, even though it's what he says in the 5th opinion. He's going to go through a whole convoluted way of explaining it away. But he's also going to mention a straw man argument of the sedevacantists.
Without any involvement of the church, which is not correct.
So we need to break that down. A manifestly heretical pope would lose office without any involvement of the church. Someone who has persisted in anti-Catholicism, who's also the head of Catholicism. So let me get out the epic pen. Okay, there's a big building, right? Different levels. And over here is the CEO. of apple, right? Draw a little apple. Wing. And over here is Google, the big G. The CEO in here is not the CEO over here. Right? He is over here. He isn't over here. So if someone is on one side, they wouldn't be on the other side. So a manifestly heretical pope is a way of speaking, not a thing that exists. I mean, this is why all this when lay people do theology, you must just throw your head out the window because it's retarded. You can't figure out what they're talking about. Oh, he needs to get very angry when he presents Bellarmine arguments like Salsa does. He'll start sneering. Anyway.
We don't believe in an invisible church. We believe in a visible church. So no, we don't believe in some invisible church. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, we don't believe in an invisible church. We believe a real church. So the real church has to be identical with the real pope. So if he's a fake pope, he's not a member of the real church. It's a real thing that exists. How would that work? The Pope gets randomly beamed up into a starship whenever he commits heresy. It's like, oh, where did the Pope go today? I saw the starship was here, boss. I guess the Pope had a heretical thought. Like the opposite of what Gaspers is thinking is apparently what he thinks Sades think, that whenever the Pope has a heretical thought, this bolt of lightning opens up from the heavens and just removes him. It literally just picks people up. It picked Luther up apparently. Oh, wait, no, it didn't.
What does God need with a starship?
Oh,
Jim, what are you doing? I'm asking a question.
I'm asking a question, huh? See, because that's what I think Gasper thinks. The Sades think there's actually a spaceship flying around picking up heretical popes. Can a pope hold his office if he suffers from indigestion? These are the kinds of questions Stephen Cox needs to answer. In this clip, Gaspers doesn't understand logic. If Pope, not heretic. If heretic, not Pope. That's the only thing you need to know.
And then number two, that it's against church teaching to even claim that a Pope can become a manifest heretic, which is what someone claimed in response to our previous video.
Yes. He's saying it's not church teaching that a manifest heretic ceases to be Pope. Now, of course, Gaspers is making a technical point there, and so we'll return to it later. Let's just keep going. We have a lot of stuff to go through. No, yeah, as the Holy Ghost would have smitten the whole Vatican II if it wasn't meant to be, but he would have also smitten Martin Luther if he wasn't meant to be, and Calvin, and Hobbes, and the entire British Empire if it wasn't supposed to be. So I guess God doesn't exist. Where is the logic? In this clip, Gaspers asserts that Sades believed the Pope randomly proclaimed heresy one day and lost the papacy. How would we even know?
The third opinion, Bellarmine says, is on another extreme, that the Pope cannot in any...
William Shatner is more Catholic than Pope Leo. You heard it here first! Breaking news! Cox News instant replay or something! What?
way be a heretic nor publicly teach heresy, even if he alone should define some matter, as Albert Pigius says. And that's basically the opinion of Sedevacantists, which is who we're primarily addressing.
So the opinion, according to Gaspers, says the Pope randomly one day binds the whole church out of nowhere to heresy. Has it ever happened? Yes, it's called Vatican II, but this one has to be random, and we don't know it is heresy. And yet, every single traditionalist agrees that Vatican II is a huge problem, almost as if there was unanimity of belief in the entire world that Vatican II has to go. Okay. If a pope accepts his election without the intent to guard and protect the faith, he doesn't receive the power to rule. But how would we know unless he created a council that completely destroyed all the entire church and the entire world and unleashed the sexual revolution?
With this video,
Despite that Sades, I figured out that chapter 3 of Papal Authority is the best argument chapter. Gaspers goes to chapter 4, and nothing like a straw man argument. Excuse me. Well, I burp. Oh, there we go. Oh, so what the Sades learned to do was that you go to chapter 3, say the Pope has the right to rule the church and that you can't resist the Pope's rulings. Therefore, you don't get to have your own personal interpretation of everything. And the opposite argument is to go to chapter 4 and say nothing that was said in Vatican II was infallible. Therefore, nothing is binding. Even though the Pope says it is binding according to chapter 3, Paul VI and all the other one popes say, especially Francis. We'll get to the Francis quote in 1 minute. Ooh.
Bellarmine explains the fourth opinion is that in a certain measure, whether the Pope can be a heretic or not, he cannot define a heretical proposition that must be believed by the whole church.
He cannot define a heretical proposition that must be believed by the whole church, because define means jurisdiction and the right to rule. Chapter 3 and 4.
In any way. This, he says, is a very common opinion of nearly all Catholics. And that's what Vatican I taught, which is the truth. That the Roman pontiff, when he speaks ex cathedra, that is when...
No, when he defines a teaching, not when he speaks ex cathedra, just when he defines a teaching. It can be a moral teaching. Talk to John Farrell about this. Any moral teaching that John Farrell has found, he's like, oh, there's the definition. There it is. You have to believe it. And no, it's just whenever it's ex cathedra. It's only when it's ex cathedra. So you need to like 5 things. You only need to like believe 5 things. You don't even have to go to mass on Sunday. That's not ex cathedra. That's just disciplinary laws. You don't have the Eucharistic fast disciplinary law. You don't have to believe any of that. Just do what you want to do.
Acting in the office of shepherd and teacher of all Christians, he defines by virtue of his supreme apostolic authority a doctrine concerning faith or morals to be held by the universal church, possesses through the divine assistance promised to him in blessed Peter the infallibility with which the divine Redeemer willed his church to be endowed.
Yes. This is why nobody uses, except for idiots who sometimes appear in the Catholic Family Podcast, but nobody uses the chapter 4 argument. And R&R have never stopped only using the chapter 4 argument. We literally like, hey, have you read chapters 1, 2, and 3? It's like, oh, chapter 4. What about chapters 1? Oh, chapter 4. What about chapter 4? Like, are we talking to a high schooler? And here is Pope St. Francis, the greatest saint of our days, patron saint of our deceased pets. Unbelievable. What? This is the magisterium. The council is the magisterium of the church. Either you are with the church and therefore you follow the council, and if you do not follow the council or interpret it in your own way as you wish, you are not with the church. Pope Francis, January 30th, 2021. Unbelievable. You mean the guy they say is the Pope agrees with the Sedevacantist on chapter 3, the ordinary right to rule? The church belongs to the Pope? What do these R&R actually believe? Nothing. In this clip, by ignoring the actual teaching on the papacy, on papal authority, Gaspers can now wax poetically about definitions and stuff. We're almost.
So there are like 4 criteria in that definition.
Everyone pray for John Farrell's wife to convert back to Catholicism.
That have to be met simultaneously in order for a papal statement to qualify as infallible. It's not everything that comes out of the man's mouth. So
Well, yeah, which is a relief, really.
Yeah, to relief, man. I don't have to believe
Yes.
whatever I don't want to believe. Yeah, I just don't have to believe anything, man. So in this clip, we have Bellarmine's opinion on secret heretics, which is why the Sedis use a particular argument about public acts, which are manifest and pertinacious, like in ecumenical council. No, he's
a
not.
pope who falls into heresy.
Okay. Carbongos is doing this for attention. It's what he's done for the last 2.5 years of his life. Everything is attention. He podcasts with someone else's wife so he can look at a woman. That's how needy he is. And he talks down to her and she just like ignores him to her face because he can't figure out how to talk to women. Like the dude is insane. And it's always like, yes, I'm opining about the truth of life. Is there a thing I can opine about? I will speak about all Gen Z because I read one document on grinder dating profiles. Oh, I'm Nicholas Carbangos. Like, that's what that dude does. He's insane. The dude is like mental. Anyway, we'll get to the wolf in a second. Yay, Orthodox.
Even secret or like internal heresy, the sin of heresy, would immediately cut himself off from the church and thus lose his office. And Bellarmine rejects this opinion, which was held by Cardinal Juan de Torquemada, who died in 1468, noting that its foundation, quote, is that secret heretics are outside the church, which is false.
Yes, it is false because being outside the church in this sense is a juridical thing. The church is a visible body with laws. So the law has to be a visible public thing, like visible public Vatican II. Like, what we gotta do about this? This guy's like, oh, I like my theories, but not to apply them. Like, yeah. We're not saying that Paul VI invisibly was a heretic. We're saying he's a very visible heretic. Part 2, this is Gaspers. Why Gaspers is unable to graspers with the functioners of the role of the visible church. What? Do you have a timestamp for this? You know, if he becomes a Sede, we won't be able to tease him anymore. Please don't become a Sede. Please don't become a Sede. Please don't become a Sede. Oh, there's no more Sailorcast. Sailorcast is over. Whoa. Based on private heresy, not on promulgating heresy. I'm like, no duh. Avoiding Babylon. Look up avoiding Babylon. Look up avoiding Babylon. Staying faithful. Oh, saw. Wait, it doesn't have the transcript. It has the transcript. Then become. Become does not trigger. He's helping men become men. Become detached from yourself. We can become like Christ. Why don't you become a priest? I don't know. You'd have to actually give me an actual line for them to say. Because I say they won't actually appear in the transcript. Suppose he promised us. Our fears, suppose. Gosh darn it. Thank you for derailing the show, Martha. Why don't you do a show? Why don't you just derail everything I have planned? No, I don't want to. Like, if he actually asked me to, I would no problem with it because I'm that way towards like everyone except Abate. But like, Nick was with Abate after the video. Oh, he's right there. Wait, what the heck? He's actually sitting back, calm and relaxed about something. Look at his body language.
Lonely and they need somebody, and I just want to see if I can offer anything for them. Because we're all so freaking
Daddy.
Because we live on the freaking internet and we don't have
Daddy, I need
relationships
you.
anymore. We don't have
Why haven't you come for me?
Men's groups and people need to get.
By the way, Abato said he would have me on his show within like to 1 week of finding me, because that's what Bato does to everyone. It's how he manipulates them. Anyway.
Moreover, and very importantly, Bellarmine also observes this point, which totally contradicts the theory or the claim that he maintains that the Pope loses his office without any involvement of the church whatsoever. He says, for jurisdiction is certainly given by the pontiff, given to the pontiff by God.
Jurisdiction is given to the pontiff by God. This is why he's the supreme legal officer of the whole church. Around 37 minutes. Why are we destroying my show, you mugger? You destroyed it. Oh, excuse me. Let's see.
Okay, I mean, you want to be you're looking to get, so then go Saturday, Nick. See how happy I am. I'm trying to help you here because I'm trying to give you how this actually works. There's only one way it works for me, and if I'm wrong, great. You think I want the world to end? I don't.
Great. Do you think I want the world to end? What is Rob doing on the show?
Okay, I mean, you want to be you're looking to get, so then go Saturday, Nick. See how happy I am. I'm trying to help you here because I'm trying to give you how this actually works. There's only one way it works for me, and if I'm wrong, great. You think I want the world to end? I don't.
So if Abate is wrong, the world ends. Does Abate have a brain cell? Like, I sincerely don't know if Abate... Yeah, I know. He's so happy being so important. Oh, yeah, he's a big bully. Because Cavazos will kiss up to... I think it's time for another commercial. What is going on with Nick? Does anybody know? Why did he go on avoiding Babylon? What was all this screaming about? Why is he crying? Which reason is it going on? We can't wait. What's going on? Oh. He has Anthony's the whole weight of the world on his shoulders. This is insanity. How are we even supposed to do a show when we want to do a different show because it's more interesting? Where is Selah Caston? We need him. There is no church law that says the Pope can't be a heretic. We have had kicks for popes before. Antony. Yes, Schmuckcast. That is what we are talking about. What on earth is going on? But now we have to actually watch that and watch Anthony be like, well, you don't agree with me? I guess you just go be a Satan now. Why don't you just believe me? Because just believe me is their only argument. It's our friend. Nick alert, Selah alert. I know. Anthony Abate is such a bully, but like, of course, Kevin Davis can't notice this. Like, I knew this a long time ago because Abate got into my DMs and tried to get me off of his back. And I've told that before, like within the first 6 months of Sede Picante, 3 years ago now, or 2 years ago, in a now deleted episode. It's probably on my computer, actually. I said, I reviewed their show and I said, these people aren't Catholics. And I said that and I posted it. And within 24 hours, he was in my DMs. I was really confused by that. And he was like, you know, man, you're kind of funny. You know, maybe I can have you on my show sometime. This is the way a bully acts, because he's putting himself into a power position over you. No, Nick, just go be a Sadie. Because he knows Nick's not going to be a Sadie. Well, that's another power play. He does this all the time. He's just on with Catholic Family Podcast. Yeah, you know, I'm going to convert Kevin Davis to the Novus Ordo. He says these things to set the impression. He's expressing his vital male dominance. Man, I need another commercial break. There's so much male dominance going on. Why is Anthony Abate just male dominating everyone he talks to? Is that why he co-hosts? Is a fat, ugly woman? Yes! Because it makes Anthony feel more like a man. You've got to let the man flow through do it. That's right. That's right. No one can stop a party. Ah. Ah. Let's get back to Bellarmine and stuff.
But with the agreement of men, in other words, a conclave, as is obvious, he says, because this man who beforehand was not pope has from men that he would begin to be pope, therefore he is not removed by God unless it is through men.
So the point Gaspers is making, and he misunderstands it, is that because the church is a visible hierarchical structure, even if the Pope had left, a process must be done by the visible hierarchical structure and not a spaceship coming down and beaming the Pope up invisibly. Because Lefebvre publicly disagreed with the Pope, that is a form of public judgment. That is a moral authority judging the Pope. Because Archbishop Thuk also disagreed with the Pope. Again, that is a moral authority judging the Pope. That it has to be done visibly so that we, the faithful, know what's going on. And it was done visibly, and it will be done visibly again in July this year by the SSPX. Like, wow, of course it's got to be visibly done. But the Pope lost office invisibly because he got the office invisibly. But the actual picking up the body of the Pope, which is a physical thing, has to be physically done. And this is a visible thing, has to be visibly done. It's like, wow, this is so hard. Oh, I know that Gaspers has direct access to God to know whether people are popes, but I have to look actually at evidence. Oh, yeah, but you know, the point of this room was actually to do this show. I'm not going to just watch Nick Cavazos. Maybe I will later. So in this slight change of argument, we have from do heretics lose the office to do people suspect of heresy lose the office when judged? Yes. No.
So this clearly proves that Bellarmine held that men, specifically meaning members of the church's hierarchy, must be involved in establishing the fact that a pope suspect of heresy is indeed guilty of the crime. And for support for that, what I've just explained is found in this other.
Okay. Since we seem to want to talk about Nick a lot more, than anything else, the show's been hijacked. Look. Here's the thing with Nick Cavazos. Because I generally try to keep the editorializing to a minimum. That's the whole point of season 2 of the show, was to keep editorializing way down, right? Let's hop out of character for a bit. The thing that Nick doesn't understand is he doesn't understand theology. He didn't understand philosophy. He didn't understand the faith. He has no area of expertise. So whenever he would post something, he would randomly hit things that were interesting, which is why we caught him once saying a person who didn't have formal adherence to the Catholic faith would go to hell. This was a long time ago, 3 years ago, right? Nick, when after this, the 40-year-old took his girlfriend, was devastated and made a video where he said, I'm handsome, I make money, why don't I get a girlfriend? Because she had just dumped him. When he got the Pious Pelican Plus, he said, I finally became a professional content creator, therefore I win. That's Nick. Nick has never, ever had a real job. Nick has never, ever put himself out there and had any real business sense. He's a college kid who discovered he liked to read books, and that's all he wants to do. He has made videos after videos that he has to continually delete. Oh, and by the way, we do actually have some of these videos on the Bookie Books channel. I wonder if Phil's here. Do your show, CDP? No, no, let's just derail the show for a bit. Bookie Books. There's a... Right. wonder if Phil Gonzalez is here and he can give us his Sailacast. Anyway, there's a show that was done where Cavazos came on the stream to yell at us, right? And this is on the Books channel. I part my hair in the middle. What the heck? I do, actually. It's not there right now. And what happened is Nick has no sense of understanding the way the internet works. He's no sense of business. He's no sense of understanding the complexity of theology. So what he would do, and he reinforced this idea in my head, is he would yell and scream at you if you disagreed with him. So as long as he's in a position of power, he has an institution, as long as he has Trad Inc., as long as he has Pius Pelican Plus, as long as he's the Cavasso stream, that he can just block everyone who disagrees with him, as long as he doesn't even go live to interact with the chat, as long as he does all those things, what happens? He's invincible. He doesn't have to hear the critics. He doesn't have to respond to them. He doesn't have to dialogue with them. When I became a Sede, I spent 6 months studying it. I knew the faith. I'd always studied the faith every year of my life. Like you just naturally do. You're a Catholic. He becomes a convert, discovers he's smarter than people around him, and he is. He's book smart. But book smart people are real life stupid. I was book smart when I was his age, and I was real life stupid. I also lost a relationship, just like he lost a relationship. Not like in the same way. But that's what these types of people do. And so now he's fighting everything tooth and nail to save something. What he's trying to save is that he doesn't want to grow up and actually become a man. So Pius Pelican Plus is this great opportunity to continue being a master's student indefinitely, to never grow up, to never graduate, to never actually be able to address the issues. Because if you're an actual intellectual, you can actually interview other people and hear opposite sides. Chad would totally get along with JPT from Sailacast. Yeah, he would. No. Yeah, he was in the comments on the Sailacast, and he was yelling at us, and we dropped him the link, and he wouldn't come up. Can you imagine an intellectual who's smarter than his opponents, 4 of them in a room, and they say, hey, come in, we want to talk to you, that you wouldn't go in there and just murder? You would go in and murder, just like a comic does. I do that in Discord. I went into Deuterocomical's Discord the other day. I went in there and murdered with Sadovacantism. And you know what? Someone had a good argument against me, and it took me a while to get through that argument. Because that's what normal intellectuals do. So why doesn't we ever say it with Nick? You've seen him discuss arguments with Timothy Flanders and Eric Sammons, all safe people. Because Nick has no balls. Nick has no personality. Nick has no guts. Nick has no supernatural faith. He's a whiny, overgrown high schooler who discovered he knows how to read books. He does no life experience. He's never read a book. He's not multidisciplined. He doesn't understand different topics. He's read 5 books and that's it. That's who Nick Cavazos is. And then everything goes sour in his life and he spends all his time complaining about it. Like, what? All these people be like, oh, Nick is supposed to be like an intelligent person. No, Nick's a retard. I was also a retard. So I learned an entire discipline of economics. I've read 25 economics books just on my own because I knew I couldn't understand it. At the end of my master's in philosophy at St. Franciscan University, I'd already studied theology, sacred music, and I was doing philosophy. I discovered I didn't understand economics and it bothered me. So I read 25 books of economics. I read history books. And then I discovered I was bad at economics, so then I didn't keep on going. I write music. I'm bad at writing music. I don't professionally present myself as a writer of music. I don't professionally present myself as a philosopher because I'm not that good at it. Nick has learned one thing in his life. Believe the Catholic Church. Read Thomas Aquinas. Wow. Great job, Nick. But you didn't internalize anything. You can't have debates. You don't go into enemy territory and you don't kick ass. So like, what's the point? The point is one giant ego rub, because that's all podcasting is. All podcasting is one giant ego rub. And what I like to do on my show is I like to twist and break things. That's why last episode, what we did is we went and, not the huevos, we went and tried to overturn the SSPX argument. Because we all know the SS should make bishops. So I said, well, I'm going to make the argument they shouldn't make bishops. Why? Because that's what an intellectual does. An intellectual takes what's obviously the truth, and he sees it. Can I break this? Can I get a different insight with it? Can I smash? And what do all these other trads do? I'm saying the truth. I'm saying the truth. The truth will set you free. I will set you free. There's no truth in these people. Every one of them is nothing but a lame repeater of dumbness. Like, if you're an intellectual, you have to take systems and break them. That's the whole point of intellectualism. That's all the scholastics did, is they took everything in front and they argued it until the nth degree, and then afterwards the church canonized whoever was right. That's how it works. So if you say St. John of God and Cajetan, guess what? You're wrong, because they're not canonized. Bellarmine's canonized. There you go. That's the whole argument. Okay, and now let's get back to the show. Oh boy. Oh boy. And now I've got triggered again. Anyway, now that we're done with a random rant about nothing, let's get back to whatever Gaspers is saying.
Tome that I showed earlier in his work on the church, and he lists 6 reasons on account of which councils are celebrated. And the 4th reason, he says, is suspicion of heresy in the Roman pontiff. I'm quoting again from the book. If perhaps it might happen, or if he were an incorrigible tyrant, for then a general council ought to be gathered either to...
You will notice that he says a tyrant or a heretic or a person of ill morals. So in other words, Bellarmine's point here is general and not specific, but Gaspers can't read English. Man.
Depose the Pope if he should be found to be a heretic. Notice he's saying to depose the Pope. He's still acknowledging the man would still be a Pope if he's simply suspect of heresy. If he should be found to be a heretic, or certainly to admonish him if he seemed incorrigible in morals.
So again, we have to ask the question, hey, Gaspers, how on earth would the heretic go away? Would he just turn into bubbles? Oh, I'm a heretic. Bubbly, 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 bubbly. Or it's like, I'm a heretic. I'm melting. I'm like, oh, I'm a heretic. A spider got me. Like, no. You're a physical person. You have to be physically removed. Now I'm doing the Trump thing. Hey, Teodoro. Teodoro, who gives all his money to Bishop Sanborn. So it's like, oh yeah, wow, we had to call a council to formally get rid of a heretic. Yeah, okay, that's what Bishop Wachold says we should do too. Yeah. Because it would be a juridical action. Ooh, heretic cooties. But Gaspers is confusing the function of the visible society with the power of God. Otherwise, a group of heretical bishops could depose. This is something I don't understand. Why Gaspers didn't think of this. And it shows me Gaspers hasn't thought this through. If the Pope has to be gotten rid of by a visible group of bishops, the French bishops could make a visible council, say the Italian Pope's not the Pope, send Napoleon in, get rid of the Italian Pope, put a French Pope in. Why not? It's the same logic. Oh, because he's going to be really bad, right? It's like, well, who says? Who says? And this is why Gaspers is, I guess there's no supernatural church anymore. If you would allow me to quote from this, tome, oh yeah, this theological manual of amazingness. Oh yes. In this clip, Gaspers notes that a council could convict a heretical pope and remove him. Yes.
The Pope in a council is not the only judge, but has many colleagues, that is, all the bishops, who, if they could convict him of heresy, they could also judge and depose him, even against his will. So clearly, Bellarmine held the church, the hierarchy has to be involved in this. It does.
Yeah. That's why Thuk did this 40 years ago. That's why Lefebvre did this in 88. That's why the SSPX are doing it in 2026. That's what we're talking about. It's always been going on. And the Gaspers like, yes, but I didn't see it happen. Oh, I guess he's still the Pope. I guess he's still infallible, no matter what he says, because he's still the Pope. But he's not infallible unless it's like the definitions. Like,
Doesn't just happen on its own.
Why is God angry?
Why? Why have you done this to my friend?
He doubts me.
Yes, removing the Pope is not magic, but loss of office is a different question because the office is authority, which Gaspers has already denied. So it's like there's nothing left for him to agree with in the Catholic religion. In this clip, we have blasphemed the Holy Saint Peter yet? Have we? Because it wouldn't be a R and R podcast unless they throw the most important Pope under the bus.
It's a much more collegial approach, which makes sense when you think about the apostles and the fact that, the examples that we've got from within the apostles themselves, obviously Judas and St. Peter, who is the prince of the apostles, who was constantly getting things wrong.
Oh, yes, and then there's the greatest Pope of all time. It's just like everything he does is dumb. Like, that's condemned. I don't know where it's condemned, but apparently one of my brothers told me once, you can't say anything bad about Peter because it's condemned. And then here we have, oh, yes, all these popes, like literally, bro, every single pope, like, every single one. They're just like always wrong. Welcome to R&R, where you hate the Catholic tradition. Woo. In this clip, remember, theology is done entirely by feelings and selective sources read for your own personal interpretation.
And it just feels to me that is the way that Christ set up the church, so that we've got a horizontal and a vertical dimension to the church, a horizontal dimension in the political reality of human existence on this plane, but also that connection.
A horizontal reality in the political. I know politics is a real thing in Catholicism, but we were talking about the jurisdiction of the Pope to rule the church, not the political thing of whether he eats a pasta or snails. Does the guy on the left here, this Catholic unscripted man, does he know that politics in the church is a natural thing and not a supernatural thing?
To the divine all the time. And it's in that sense that the church is holy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in the sense that the being is divine in and of itself. Not in the vertical. The being itself is divine. That's why it says the 4 marks of the church, one of which is being the holy, aka divine. We have to go to find some Orthodox person to explain to us that the church is divine. Wow, the mystical body's divine. Wow, because us Latin can't figure it out. And of course, anti-Sedevacantism isn't complete without mentioning Cisco and salsa.
This book that I wanted to give a shout out to the authors who I know. I met them back in 2016. This book, True or False Pope, by John Salza and Robert Cisco. As you can see, it's very good sized, and
it's literally one of the worst written books I've ever. I've read sections. It's horrible. But, at least our Pope isn't as flawed as King David, who killed Spock over the onion green chick. I mean, at least our Pope isn't as flawed as King David, who killed Spock over the onion green chick. Moving on. It has a whole sections that are entirely stupid. Yes, it's a terrible book. In this clip, we need moral certitude to know the Pope has fallen. In poker, this move by Gaspers is called bluffing.
the reason why the church, the hierarchy, needs to be involved with this process in order to give us moral certitude that the Pope has fallen. They explain, for if a Pope were able to fall from the pontificate without the church being aware of it, which is essentially what sedevacantists are claiming, that, the entire hierarchy and the vast majority of the faithful recognize Francis as the Pope. I mean, 99.9% of the hierarchy and the vast majority of the faithful recognize him as the Pope, and yet they're claiming he's not.
Eh? So the attempt there to strong arm these issues in, to be like, oh yeah, they don't have an argument. Look at all of us agree with me. But if you've actually closely looked at Leo and every single error and heresy he's done, which he started on day one, by the way, which is why Chris Jackson is right to point it out, like, oh no, Leo is the same person as Francis day one, because these guys start off day one doing weird stuff. But we all agree that he's the Pope. Therefore, 99% of us agree that he's the Pope, which is why then you have to bring up that passage from the scripture where Christ leaves the 99 to go after the 1%, the Sedes, and to bring them back into the visible church. And the 99 have to get converted to the 1%. Yay, that we reinterpreted the parable. Ha! By the way, the Apostolic City clergy have already publicly condemned all these people. So, like, if you needed a public condemnation, you already have it. Like, what's even the point? I may watch my first Sailor cast. When does it come on? Oh no. Oh no. Don't. Sailor cast is ran by John, and John is insane. And he's crazy. And he's nutsy. And he's bonkers. And he's a complete goober, and he doesn't understand anything. And the whole point of the show is to annoy everyone. Don't watch it. But yeah. Isn't there yeah, I already said that point. Blah, blah, blah. I listed all Leo's atrocities within the first 2 weeks on my article on Joseph Shaw, and they say we need to give him time. Yes, we don't know. Maybe he's going to be American. Yes. To finish the clip, Cisco and Salz are using the reduction to absurdity argument, which a lot of people use this argument because it's a good argument to use, but in this case, it's a really bad argument, a bad way to argue.
The hierarchy and the vast
Selah, do you want to come on, Red Tread, or are you just saying Selah for the
majority
heck
of the faithful recognize him as the Pope, and yet they're claiming he's not.
So the majority of the faithful recognize him as the Pope. You assume the majority of the faithful are the faithful. Therefore, and since the faithful are never wrong, they are right. Well, that's an absurd circular argument.
So if that were able to happen, we would never know, explain Salzo and Cisco for sure, which popes in the past were true popes.
If it was the case that the popes were not validated by the majority of the Catholics, we would never know which popes were true and which popes were false. Does it matter to the person in the pew if any of the popes are secret heretics and never bind the church with evil heresy? It literally makes no difference. You don't know, and what you don't know can't hurt you. But what you're bound to believe does hurt you. Vatican II is bound, according to Francis. It does hurt you. Therefore, this argument goes nowhere. Gaspers, have you ever thought before in your life?
And which had crossed the line into heresy and lost their office.
What does the guy to the left of Gaspers do? Is he like Andy Richter, or is Gaspers Conan O'Brien? Yeah, more or less. He just pretty much lets Gaspers talk the whole time. Whenever he does talk, it's only because he wants to bring up conciliarism. And here we have the big long clip. Right, we're in the last 9 minutes. This show's going to go another 40 minutes. Oh boy. So we only apply our argument against our enemies and don't apply them to ourselves.
Hence, we would have no way of knowing if the definitive decrees of the various councils had been ratified by a real pope or by one who had lapsed into heresy for a time and secretly fallen from the pontificate. Consequently, they explained, the object of the faith itself, the dogmas that must be believed, would be uncertain, and the determination of which dogmas were defined by true popes and which were not would be left to the private judgment of individual Catholics in the pew to decide. The scrupulous would be paralyzed by doubt, and the unstable would fall into the most outrageous conclusions, which is ultimately what happens with people who go down that path.
Yeah, so in other words, if you're a Sede, you suddenly don't believe anyone's the Pope. You suddenly can't figure out what the church teaches about anything. There's no sources of the faith. You can't read Trent. You can't read session 22 of the Council of Trent that says you can't say the words of institution out loud publicly. You can't read that and then look at the Novus Ordo Mass, which does have the words of institution out loud publicly, and can't draw any conclusion. I guess whatever's happening, that's just whatever God wants. So why not have women priests? Then it would be whatever God wants. The argument works in the exact opposite way as Gaspers just said. This is why I'm listening to this and I'm like, I don't want to include this clip, but I have to include this clip so that Gaspers can be heard to make really stupid arguments. If you don't know what the faith is as an objective science, because theology is science, you can't possibly know whether you're Catholic or not. Is transubstantiation a real dogma or not? If it is, then anything that contradicts it is false. And now you can take that to the bank. Did Pope Francis say it was just bread and not the transubstantiated bread? However it's supposed to be said, I'm not sure, because I'm not a theologian. The answer is, he said Christ comes to us as bread. Well, I think my mother might come to me as bread, but I don't know about Christ. Seems like it's kind of blasphemous. Yeah, he did. Yes, it's at the 37.5-minute mark. In this clip, they are entirely oblivious that they're talking about themselves.
So,
yeah, that's really well put, actually, isn't it? And that's sort of the point of the church as a visible unity, isn't it? In the temporal flux of our reality, is that's sort of the function that it performs.
Right.
Yes. The function it forms is to keep the faith coherent, so we can all see and hear and listen and know what the faith is. So if we can know and see and listen and hear what the faith is, then we can find out what isn't the faith, and then we would know which one we're supposed to follow, instead of being like, well, I found an opinion somewhere in a book somewhere. Now I don't know anything. It's as if the infallible orders of other stuff has never, ever existed before. Like all the other infallible ecumenical councils. Bellarmine's third opinion. Good night. Good night. Thank you for staying up so late with us, Christine. God bless. Good night.
The third opinion that Bellarmine discusses is basically summarized as a pope who falls into heresy, even manifest, which means public and pertinacious heresy, as we'll see, retains his office and cannot be judged. Bellarmine calls this opinion, quote, exceedingly improbable, noting that, quote, in the case of heresy, a Roman pontiff can be judged. So again, reiterating the fact that he acknowledges that the church has to be involved in this, in the hierarchy.
Again, this is a big problem because the actual teaching of the church is you can't follow heretics. So the judgment of the Pope and your relationship with the Pope is two different things. It's bifurcated and it's supposed to be singular and vertical. You as a person, when you fall into positive doubt concerning whether the Pope is the Pope, you become a sedevacantist. The church's job of judging the Pope is the church's job of judging the Pope. You can't just be like, well, I judged him. No, you just have to become a sede you don't know. These two men are not Anglicans, but boy, do they sound like it. And why does bad thing happen if God good? If God good, no bad thing happen. If Pope real, no bad teaching happen. If Pope not real, then bad teaching happen. Did bad teaching happen? I think bad teaching happened. Then for Pope not real. Yes. And again, we're reiterating the point. The Gaspers is arguing as if the sedevacantists believe there's a magical beam that comes down from heaven and just, did you have a bad thought? Oh, now you're not no, you're not the Pope anymore. You're out. Wow, sedevacantism is defeated because there's no magical beam. I'm going to die. Oh, Marcellus Salt. This is why all these Sadies trying to be nice to Anthony and he will like us. This kind of makes me want to beep. All he does is mock Sadies. Yeah, Abate is just a big bully. I don't know why, but you see, Abate is one of these like, oh yes, I'm the adult in the room. Yes, look at me, adult in the room. And then Kevin Davis is like, gee, Daddy, when I grow up, I want to be an adult like that. Daddy, I want to be an adult. I just gotta be an adult, Daddy. That Italian guy, he's an adult, Daddy. And then Daddy's like, wow, man, I don't know. Maybe I should apologize to this guy that wants to be an adult. Ah, these people can't see through anything. In this clip, fraternal correction isn't to just, even though we just said the church has to be involved in what we don't know. We literally don't even know what the Gaspers point is at some points in this video, which is, of course, why I had to clip it.
And regarding the word judge, he's not talking, he doesn't mean to say that the church or the bishops have some sort of juridical authority over the Pope. It's basically an issue of fraternal correction.
Yeah. Fraternal correction. We don't have authority over you. We're fraternally correcting you. So, in other words, you can remove a pope by saying, bad pope, you're a bad pope, be rebuked. Yeah, that's the argument. That's actually his argument. That's why the Sadis think of some people are retarded, because what the source he's quoting, and we're going to get to it in a little bit, means it very differently than what he's saying. Yeah. Yes, it is all pointless. Yes.
If a superior is if there's a danger to the faith, that an inferior can correct a superior as.
If there's a danger to the faith, a inferior can correct a superior.
It's a matter of fraternal correction. So it's not a matter of exercising jurisdiction over a superior. It's simply a matter of fraternal correction.
So when like 2 or 3 bishops like Lefebvre Thuc say bad pope, the pope is juridically removed, but just not juridically, just fraternally removed, only magically removed, or not removed at all. Because it turns out, if there's enough people who like the Pope who's evil, then he's not removed. So in other words, all the devil had to do was get 51% of the bishops to agree with him, and therefore the church was lost. Because apparently the Pope isn't infallible on faith and morals, and he has to be fraternally corrected on faith and morals. I sincerely apologize, Dungeons and Dragon Davis.
I humbly apologize. I humbly apologize. That's happened. That's happened.
Oh, and now we will turn to the quas. I know.
So this is what
this guy on the left is like mesmerized by the brilliance of Matt Gaspers.
C. Papa says. I have a translation in this other book here from Dr. Kwasniewski's publishing house, also used to.
Now, the reason why I included this clip, because it's always good to know what sources people use. And I'm assuming we're not even looking in sources. We're not double checking any of his sources. We're just taking the argument as he presents it, as if he was an honest person. And we're saying, hey, look, his sources are Cisco and Salza, failed lawyers and ex-Masons, and the Quas, who accepts every single anti-pope as a real pope. He just denies Vatican I and Pius X. Those are your sources. Thank you. Because that tells me more about your argument and who you are than just the argument. I know.
Press. So C. Papa says, no mortal presumes in this regard to rebuke him, meaning the Pope, since the one who is to judge all men is himself to be judged by no one, unless perhaps he should be found straying or deviating from the faith.
Yes, yes. Deviating from the faith, meaning not being a Catholic. In which case we say bad Pope, you just say, bad Pope? You're a bad Pope. And then he just stops being bad, and it's like, wow. I know this is really childish, but that's actually the argument they're making. They're deviating from the faith. I can't judge you, but you're a bad Pope. I hope you're going to change your actions someday. You're just going to have to change.
And then the text from Innocent III that Bellarmine cites when he's talking about the third opinion says, a pope can be judged by men, or rather be shown to be judged, if he loses his savor by way of heresy. For he who does not believe is already judged.
For he who does not believe is already judged. Judgment happens ipso facto without the church's action. But because it's a visible church, it needs visible processes. This is not hard to explain. And Shemacast says, I only quote the books I write. And Shemacast looked longingly at the text. Oh, yes, longingly. And I wrote that here, and I am right.
So those are two sources that Bellarmine appeals to say, if we're dealing with heresy, the Pope is liable to judgment.
Yes, because he's already been judged by his own actions. That's what the actual thing said. And now Gaspers does this a few times, is he takes the document that says exactly what the fifth opinion of Bellarmine is, the Pope is ipso facto judged, and then he goes, and then he adds words to it. Protestants do this all the time. But it wasn't juridically, right? Because his argument was it wasn't juridically. Yeah, whatever. It's all magic. The Pope is just magic, man. The old canard, Dominican versus Jesuits. Oh, yes.
So the fourth opinion is that of Cardinal Thomas Cajetan, and Bellarmine summarizes his position as, quote, a manifestly heretical Pope, so one who has been warned by the Church.
A manifestly heretical Pope who has been warned by the Church. So you have to say you're a bad Pope, and all of a sudden he's manifestly a bad Pope. He has been spoken to by a moral majority of the bishops. Remember, no jurisdiction, just moral majority and waving your finger at the Pope. Didn't we all do this with Francis for like 8 years? Didn't even bishops and priests get excommunicated because they did this to Francis? By the way, we will get to that clip in a second.
A manifestly heretical Pope, so one who has been warned by the Church, fraternally corrected and spurned that, is not ipso facto deposed, but can and ought to be deposed by the Church.
Yes. So to summarize the fourth position, according to Gaspers, you say bad Pope 3 times, then he becomes judgeable, and then you jurisdiction him. Yes, that is what he believes, which is complete nonsense. Saying words bad Pope can be said by anybody. They were literally, the modernists were saying this about Pius X, weren't they? Like, wasn't that the whole reason he brought up Pascendi, was to actively attack the heretics in the church? Now, Bellarmine says the fourth opinion is false.
Bellarmine says such an opinion cannot be defended in his opinion, and then he gives his reasons. He says he gives one from authority and the other from reason. He's referring to Titus chapter 3, verses 10 to 11. A man that is a heretic after the first and second admonition or correction, avoid, knowing that he that is such a one is subverted and sinneth, being condemned by his own judgment.
Did you get that? Did it require juridical process to remove him? You warned him twice and you avoided him because he got already removed.
And sinneth, being condemned by his own judgment. Being condemned by his own judgment. So that is what Bellarmine is talking about.
Now, Gaspers is taking judgment to be the judgment of the church, not his own judgment, right? He's not condemned by his own actions. He's condemned by the judgment, but not of the guy, which what Titus is talking about, but of the church.
According to the Jesuit school of thought, all that needs to be established by the hierarchy is that he is obstinate in heresy, and then that's it. Then Christ does, after that's declared by the church that he is guilty of heresy, then Christ immediately severs the bond that unites the man to the office.
Yes. So did you see what he just did? He immediately contradicted what he was reading from. He's removed ipso facto all Elioxin by his own actions to now he's removed by Christ because the church has come to the conclusion that he's manifest heretic. So when there were 3 popes in the Great Western Schism and they all came to the conclusion that all the other popes were manifest heretics and that only they were the right pope, then they were all juridically removed. That's what this means, right? It's like, no. I know, right? This is so annoying. And the Pachamama.
I mean, the one that always comes to the forefront of my mind is the Pachamama incident, which lots of people have tried to say, oh, it was, it wasn't an idol. It was, but I mean, just even if the point for me was that the Pope never explained it. He called it Pachamama. He never said, no, this represents, there was no attempt to explain what was actually going on, other than from people like Austin Ivory and Mike Lewis, who were desperately trying to spin it into something that it clearly wasn't.
Right.
Also, you had the dreadful prayer from the Italian bishops, Pachamama of these places, all that nonsense going on. I mean, that is it was smacking you in the face heresy, isn't it? Idolatry and all, to have to install an idol in the Vatican garden and to have a sort of prayer service going on around it. It was appalling, wasn't it, Matt?
Yeah, it certainly was.
Oh, yeah. We know that it was appalling. We know that it was heresy. Oh, but you see, we didn't get 3 bishops to come together and wag their finger. This is when Father Cicada was making fun of these people. And he said this, oh, you're at a tennis game. Like, oh, that's so foul. And like, you can't take this argument seriously. But Catholic Unscripted was like, oh, you said these were all heretics. Matt Gaspers has told me. It's like, you guys live in a fantasy land. We just don't know that it was a heresy. Everybody just was like, wow, could it be? No one's wagged their fingers at the Pope, therefore he's still the Pope. Like seriously, is this literally the best they can do? It's not, but
As we heard from Bellarmine, he and the other great theologians who have addressed this topic didn't envision just a handful of cardinals going and admonishing the Pope. They envisioned this happening in the context of a general council of the church. Like the entire hierarchy would have to be on board for this to work.
Yeah. I thought it was a moral majority because that's all you need. Now it's the entire hierarchy. Because you see, at first it was going to be the moral rebuke because it's fraternal, because he's brother bishops. Now it has to be all the bishops. Well, we get moving goalposts. R&R, this Trad Inc. people, they moved the goalposts whenever it gets uncomfortable. Well, Pachamama was bad. There's 2 or 3 priests who said, oh, you can't do that. That's wrong. There are even Mexican Novus Ordo priests who offered reparation for that action. That's how evil it was. Isn't that rebuking the infallible head? Because they're publicly saying that he sinned. No, it wasn't enough, though. See, it's got to be enough. Well, how many? How many times? It's like, there's no rules, there's no laws, just make it up as you go. This is why I hate theology. Theology is horrible. And the 5th opinion, now in the 5th opinion, Gaspers simply lies about it and says that it's married to the 4th opinion. These people have no morals whatsoever.
Yes, so what Bellarmine says, he says now the 5th truth.
Why does Abate hate Phil Gonzalez? Because maybe Phil Gonzalez is funny and works with things, and Abate has to be in control and power and domination of everyone. I mean, I don't know. That's kind of weird.
True opinion, the one that he held, is that a pope who is a manifest heretic, remember, he's talking
manifest heretic. Remember, he's talking about someone who has been judged by the church. That's what he's going to say. That's not what Bellarmine means at all.
Talking about one that's manifestly pertinacious after he's been warned.
Manifestly pertinacious after he's been warned. Did you know you're only manifestly pertinacious after you've been warned? Like, if no one noticed you were committing a sin, there would be no sin. Exactly. But if the sin was an ecumenical council, as was the state of a contest argument, every single human being in the world who knows about Catholicism knows about your sin. Right? We're not talking about secret heretics. We're talking about public heresy.
Per Titus chapter 3, and sinneth, being condemned by his own judgment. Ceases in himself to be pope and head, just as he ceases to be in himself a Christian and a member of the body of the church, whereby he can be judged and punished by the church.
Yes. So we're going to get the opinions restated again. I think this time he actually does separate the fifth from the fourth opinion, because you can't include being judged as manifestly heretical by the church in the fifth opinion, because the fifth opinion is he loses jurisdiction of the church, therefore he's liable to be judged. In other words, the Pope has left the office of his own free will prior to and without any duty or work of the church. The church is merely doing the visible society's function called picking up the body and taking out the trash.
The Jesuit school.
Yeah, that's what Alexander the Sixth did to the French cardinals that came with an army to them. He told them to get lost anyway. Like there have been times that cardinals have tried to depose popes. It's never happened.
On this issue,
Right,
claimed
Teodoro.
it's already happened, that Christ has already severed the bond between the man and the office, and the church does not play any sort of a ministerial role.
So the Jesuit position is Christ has already severed the bond, and the church does not play a ministerial role in the severing of the bond. Here's the first time that Gaspers actually gets the fifth opinion correct.
In the severing of the bond. But the Dominican school says that in order for Christ to intervene and actually sever the bond uniting the man to the office, the church has to issue a declaration commanding the faithful to avoid the heretical pope, and then Christ severs the bond, severs the man from the office at that point.
Yes. So in other words, until the people visibly say, oh no, this guy that we've been rebuking for several times, and now that we're certain he's a manifest pope, we all come together, and not until we say, hey, you're a bad person, stop being pope, is he stop being pope? Well, then the council controls God, because the council doesn't make the pope. They only make the pope elect. But don't tell Catholic Crusader films that he'll have an aneurysm. By the way, even if the fourth opinion was correct, it would already be severed. Bishop Waugh could just form a little council with Bishop Inverness and sever the bond. So it's like, even if the R&R position was correct, they have to move the goalposts to include every single bishop, even though the cities have bishops. Which, of course, by definition means that they could never get all the bishops, because they said bishops have no communion with the Novus Ordo bishops. If Gaspers was consistent, he would say not enough have condemned, therefore the sadist clergy rejection is an illegal rejection. But this is logically suspicious, because the rejection is a moral rejection and the number problem is a logical problem. And I'm not going to get into the logical problem with it, but if you take Logic 301 in college, you will learn numerical problems are a different mode. It's a different modal logic system. The main host points out that for the fraternal correction was already done by the Novus Ordo. By the way, this is one thing I really have lost my mind over, and it just like triggers me to death. There's enough Novus Ordo clergy who don't think Francis is the Pope for the fourth opinion to already have taken place, and for the fifth opinion. So I was like, I don't even know what the argument is about. Nobody thinks this guy's the Pope at this point. Even Kwasniewski is like, I'm going to publish a book that pretty much lays out all the different times Francis was a known heretic and perverter of the faith. You're like, wow, maybe he's still infallible in faith. What?
But like there are a number of instances where certainly, like Father Thomas Wynandy, who's a really outstanding theologian, was the advisor to the US Conference of Catholic Bishops, had lost his role because he said that Pope Francis is a heretic. Father Aidan Nichols, who's the UK's leading theologian, Dominican, similarly got into all kinds of trouble because he signed an open letter stating that Pope Francis was a heretic. So we're not without examples. Obviously, we've got the dubia. The first lot of dubia were never answered, and the second lot, which was that we know about anyway. This was the ones that we thought would provoke this correction.
Yeah. So what would we have to actually do so Gaspers does it again? And well, I think the whole church has to be here. So a church that's corrupted, and we all accept that it's corrupted, has to also at the same time be moved by the Holy Spirit to remove the infallible head because he's corrupt. How is this going to work ever? This is he's found a way to justify anything he wants, and then the Sedes are wrong. Like, thanks, Gaspers, for letting us know you can't argue your way out of a plastic bag.
It's not enough, unfortunately, for Cardinal, for them to issue dubia or say, generally speaking, he's saying erroneous things. They have to issue an actual formal correction. And
they have to issue a formal correction, a juridical correction. But we've already established you can't get the juridical direction because he's the Pope. He's not judged unless he's a heretic, in which he can be judged. So therefore, anyone saying he's a heretic, and by the way, John Henry Weston pointed out 5 different heresies of Pope Francis in 2022. Like how many do we need? How many heresies do we need before the infallible head is gone?
Say you have to recant X, Y, and Z. If you don't, you're going to be showing yourself as pertinacious or obstinate in heresy.
Hey, there's Fern. Yes, we're big Free Aaron fans. And I think it's time to take us out because I think that's just the show. I think that's the whole show.
How do you know?
How would I know? Maybe because it's time for the Wolf Pack. We've done it again. Another episode. Dave said you couldn't do it, but we said we could. So we did it because we have no life and nothing to do with our time. And we do podcasting because it's a big game to us, just like it is to everyone. Thank you so much for watching the show. Be sure to have a penitential lens. And remember, if you're not suffering, are you even Catholic at this point? Like there's people that aren't suffering, and there's their Catholic, and there's people that are suffering. But God bless you and have a good night. And thank you all for coming. And remember to always suffer during Lent, because there's no point to being alive unless you're suffering. Yes. And the stream ice cream. This is true. Ice cream can never be heretical. This is just a true statement. Ice cream has never ever been heretical. Now, and the stream thing for the Sailor Cast, hopefully Friday and someday, I don't know when. I'll have to text John and find out. But yeah, end the stream. Come on, let's get some end the streams in the chat. Come on, we need to. It's time to end the stream. The part of the show where you say end the stream. We can't end the stream until people say to end the stream. There we go. This is the kind of conversation we are trying to have on the Sede Picante most amazing End the Stream network. Thank you all and end the stream.